Okay. Why am I so awkward? Why am I so awkward? Okay. Hey guys, it's Perla. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I have a story for you guys today, and one that I've been meaning to tell for a very long time, about the time I got pregnant with an IUD, or at least I thought I had an IUD. Long story, but we're gonna get into it. We're gonna be really honest. The story is very important to me because it was one that changed my life forever, and it felt like my world was crumbling down. And I'm sitting here right now extremely happy and extremely excited to be welcoming a baby girl in July with the love of my life. And yeah, let's just get into the story. It's a good one. There's some sad parts, some happy parts, some scary parts, but I think overall people are going to enjoy it, and it might be helpful to a lot of women. So that's the main goal here. As long as it can help one person or answer one question, that's really the goal. With that, if you like what you see, please feel free to subscribe to my channel and check back in. There will be other pregnancy videos and hopefully a birth vlog, depending on how crazy or not crazy my labor is. I'm really scared about it, but we'll get there when we get there. Okay, so, where do I even begin? So I actually got my IUD placed. I had already met my boyfriend, but we weren't together yet. This was a decision I had been thinking about for years. I was kind of at a high when it came to like my career finally. Like I had finally found like my big girl job, and I was like, you know what, nothing is gonna stand in my way. I was not sexually active at all. I just wanted to make the decision for my own life that I just didn't want kids within a 3-year time frame. So I went with the Skyla IUD, and I had it inserted again before me and my boyfriend were even together, before we were sexually active, all of that just as a personal decision. And then I got with my boyfriend, and you know, we fell in love, things happened, and we were good. I was kind of good as far as like health-wise with my IUD. I was experiencing a lot of bleeding and like a period that was like on and off for probably like a month or two, and it was kind of heavy. I kind of felt like maybe my body was rejecting this IUD, but I just like honestly thought nothing of it because I had always had heavy periods and I was just kind of used to it, and I just kind of blew it off, which probably shouldn't have been the case. But I went into my gyno, I had an ultrasound to make sure that the IUD was where it was supposed to be, everything was fine. So I was like, you know what, I'm Gucci for 3 years, right? And no, I was not. I feel like I should have probably brought that up with my gynecologist a little bit more. I feel like I kind of underplayed the effects that the IUD had on me, had on my mood, had on everything, every little part of my body. This was my first time on birth control. I didn't know what was normal. I kind of just went with the flow, you know? I was like, you know what, I'm good. Like, this is how it's supposed to work, right? So that was that. And you know, we were still taking like precautions, making sure like we were being responsible, but about a year after I had gotten it in, things just happened, and you know, we made not the smartest decisions, but it was only like a one-time thing. And again, I've had my IUD in place for a year, thought I was good, and a few weeks later, I was supposed to get my period, and my period was 1 day late, you guys. 1 day. And I knew in my heart of hearts, in my soul, that something was not right. So I told my boyfriend. He was like, oh, stop freaking out. Like, I'm sure it's nothing. It's 1 day. Like, how about you just take a test for peace of mind? I suffer with anxiety. I was a mess. So I was like, you know what, you're right, because if not, I won't be able to sleep at night. I'm gonna have panic attacks, and it's just gonna be a thing. So let me just take the test. So I went over to his apartment, which is in the same complex that we're still in now. I'm like looking at the apartment now. I'm like remembering verbatim exactly like how the day went and what was said and everything. So I remember that morning I went to pick up some smoothie bowls, and I brought them over. We were eating, and I found the test because I had already had one just in case, you know, like we ever had to take it. And I take the test, and I'm pacing in the restroom. I'm like, oh my God, like this just doesn't feel like just a late period. Like my periods are typically always on time. I was just, you know, I just felt like I had already known. And I looked down at the test, and sure enough, there was a faint, like super faint pink line, and then an extremely bold pink line. And I instantly started bawling and screaming. Like, I'm talking like people thought I was probably getting murdered because I was freaking out. I could not believe this was happening. I was a mess. My boyfriend comes into the restroom and he's like, I only see one line, and you know, I can't really see that second one. And he goes, let's just go buy another test across the street. There's a CVS right across from us. And I couldn't even talk. I was shaking. I was like on the floor, literally. He had to like pick me up, and we got into the car. We drove to CVS. He got a clear blue test. I took a first response, and then this one was a clear blue, but it was like digital. So it's like the one that says pregnant, not pregnant. And we'd come back, and I take one of the tests, and I guess I just didn't have enough pee in me. Like it was like a little short time span, and I couldn't take it. But by the time we got back and saw that first response test, the two lines were very pink, very out there. I instantly texted my cousin, who is like a sister to me, and I said, hey, can I come over? I have something to tell you. That was like my first thought, is like to reach out to someone who I trust wholeheartedly, because I was scared. So I reached out to her. We both got in the car and we started driving over to my cousin's house. And on the way, again, still crying, still screaming, still saying, why is this happening to me? I was asking God, like why? Like, why me? Why now? I had lost my job due to COVID. It was like the worst possible time in my life for this to be happening to me. I just didn't understand. And in the car, I remember being at a stoplight, and I probably will remember this moment for the rest of my life. My boyfriend, I look over at him, and he has like tears in his eyes, and I just want to cry thinking about it, because he explained to me it was more so like, I'm nervous about, you know, the fact that you have an IUD in place and about your health, but honestly, this is something I've always wanted, like my whole life. Like I've always wanted kids, and I know that you're going through a lot right now and you're really scared, but I'm really happy. And I just want you to know that no matter what, I'm gonna be here and we're gonna get through this, which was really crazy because at the time, we were going through a lot of like bumps in our relationship. You know, it was still fairly new. We had been together about a year, and you know, relationships are hard. So when he said that to me, I kind of just like was able to catch a breath of fresh air and breathe a little bit better. I was still obviously scared to tell my family and scared about what was gonna happen, but yeah, it was just, it's what I needed to hear at the time. So I'm never gonna forget it, but he was really happy. Like I wish that was my initial reaction, but being a girl is really different. You know, your whole life is about to change. So we make it to my cousin's house, and I go into the, like, first thing I do is say hi. I go into the restroom and I take that second clear blue test, and we had talked about it on the way there. He was like, go take the test, and then, you know, if that one says that as well, then we'll tell them and like ask them next steps. So I went into the restroom. I had water on the way, a little bit of water. I could barely drink anything. And this digital test said it. And I walked out, and I immediately told them, held up the test, and started crying. And I said, I'm pregnant. And everybody was just kind of like, like, whoa, like that's kind of like huge news. And you know, they were really supportive, really helpful, also very scared about this IUD that I thought at the time was in place. We talked next steps after that, and the first things I did when I found out was set up an appointment with Planned Parenthood and set up an appointment with my gynecologist. And then I told my mom. And that is so scary for someone like me, because I was really afraid about how my family would react, but it was something that I could not hold on to because of my anxiety. I wasn't able to sleep. I was not able to eat, breathe even, and I had to tell her. So that is another story for another day, but I told my mom. She advised me to do the same thing. You know, you need to go to the doctor and whatnot. So this is where it gets really scary for me. And I probably will get emotional many times during this video, so I apologize, but my trip to Planned Parenthood was like a roller coaster. I feel like everyone was super kind on the phone, in person. Everyone made it like super easy peasy. But it was still really scary. So I was sitting in the car. This is COVID, you know, like they don't allow you to go in until your like set appointment time. They give you a call when you're ready to come in and all of that. It was just like a lot. My partner couldn't be there. It was just me alone in my car with my very, very fresh emotions, finding out I'm pregnant, like not knowing what the hell is going on with my body. And I get inside finally, and the nurse that comes in says, you know, you took your urine test, came back positive, so you're pregnant. And she was very cold. I don't know if she was having a bad day or what. She was super, super cold. And it's crazy because everyone at Planned Parenthood, I'm talking like the entire process, everyone was so non-judgmental, so kind, so ready to help. But for whatever reason, the nurse that I had was just not having it. And she was so cruel to me. And again, just thinking back to it makes me like livid, but also makes me very, very emotional because of the thoughts going through my head of how afraid that I was and how I felt so alone. And like it was the end of the world. Like I really thought, this is it. My life is over. Like this is the worst thing that could possibly happen to me, which again is really sad because like I'm so excited to welcome my daughter. But anyway, the nurse comes in, she says, you know, your urine sample came back positive, whatever. She handed me a sheet of paper and was like, your risk of miscarriage, if I leave this in or if I take this out, like it's up to you. Didn't give me 2 minutes to decide, made me put my feet up and checked for the IUD. Again, I was freaking out. I was like, I don't want a miscarriage. I want to have this child. Like that was my choice. And I was like, my head was spinning. I was freaking out. And she looks and says, I can't find the strings. I'm going to refer you to your gynecologist. And pretty much that was that. And she walked out the room. And I was just in shock. I was like, what do you mean you can't find the strings? Like what the hell? Like where's my IUD? So I remember calling my boyfriend, my cousin after all of this, and I'm just like, I'm freaking out. I don't know what's going on. They can't find the IUD. She says it might have fallen out or something, and I don't know what to do. But luckily my gynecologist appointment was the same day. So I get there, I have my scheduled exams, a pelvic exam and an ultrasound, and they say it's going to be $600 up front. If not, they cannot see me. And I was kind of like flabbergasted. Like, this is like life-threatening. I had done my research. It could be an ectopic pregnancy. Like, who knows what the hell is going on? And they're willing to turn me away. Someone who does not have a job, that has to pay out of pocket, just because that's just healthcare in America, right? It was very scary. I somehow, with my boyfriend who was starting a new job, so did not have much at the time either, we shuffled up somehow $600. My cousin also offered to pay, but I don't know, I just feel weird about taking people's money. I really wanted to, like, you know, do whatever I could to pay it myself. And I was able to get seen by my gynecologist. So my gyno is awesome. Like, I'm sure this has like nothing to do with her, but she's awesome. And we did an ultrasound, we did the pelvic exam, and she said, I don't see the IUD on the ultrasound, but I can't say that it's like not there. I can't say that it's not embedded. I can't say that we just don't see it and your body kind of just like basically ate it. So that possibility is still there. She said she wanted me in every 2 days to make sure that my hormone levels were, you know, doubling in the way that they were supposed to, which would signify that I had a normal pregnancy. And yeah, it was just like really scary. But ultimately she told me if it is ectopic, which right now we're seeing a lot of blood flow to one side of your uterus, if it is ectopic, we need to start thinking about whether or not you would like surgery, or you would like some form of chemo that would end the pregnancy, because either way, it was not safe for me or baby. So, I'm freaking out internally. I'm not showing it at the appointment. She said also, as I remember quite vividly, that if I were to have that surgery, I would probably only be able to get pregnant from one side of my body. So at that time, I was like, hold up. Like, I'm upset, I guess you can say, about being pregnant, but at the same time, I'm like, holy shit, I might not be able to get pregnant from the other side. Like, I'm just like in a weird place, I guess you can say, because I did eventually want kids. I just didn't see it anytime soon. So I continued to go in regularly every 2 days, getting my blood drawn. I had so much blood drawn, have had so much blood drawn during this pregnancy. It's actually incredible. I don't know how I have that much blood and how I'm able to like keep it coming, but I had my blood drawn quite a bit, and it turned out to be a normal pregnancy in the place it was supposed to be. Editing Perla here, just wanted to touch a bit more on the ectopic pregnancy. So an ectopic pregnancy is extremely life-threatening because the pregnancy is growing in a place where it's not supposed to, most likely a fallopian tube. And if it continues to grow, it'll rupture the fallopian tube, which will cause internal bleeding, which is entirely life-threatening, and the pregnancy cannot grow as it should. So it needs to be removed like immediately. But my doctor let me know, if you're feeling some abdominal pain, you need to go straight to the ER because it is very dangerous. So yeah, I feel like I didn't really touch on how severe that was, and I just wanted to clear the air. So the pregnancy turned out to be in the place that it was supposed to be. Everything looked normal. But again, this was something that was very scary to me. I had to keep coming in, had to keep going to different ultrasounds to make sure the IUD was no longer there. Till this day, we don't know if my IUD is embedded, but it's not in the place where it could harm me or the baby at the moment. So my doctor kind of just let me know, like, when you're giving birth, we're gonna check for it and see if it's there, but it could have just fallen out. If I'm being honest with myself and with this entire situation, I sat there every day thinking, how the F could this have fallen out and I have not noticed? And apparently it happens, and it's common, if it does happen, it's common for it to happen during your period. And I remember specifically one time when I was on my period that something happened where, again, I just thought nothing of it, totally normal, whatever. I would use menstrual cups. I will continue to use menstrual cups because sustainability and just cleanliness. But I was taking out a menstrual cup one time, and I felt like a cramp or a little pinch as I like removed it and like, you know, was cleaning it, put it back in. And again, at the time, I thought nothing of it. I'm like, just normal. Like, you know, it's just a cramp, a pretty painful one, sharp pain, but it just went over my head. And the more and more I think about it, I think that time it was a very specific pain that did not feel normal. So if it did fall out, I really think that's when it fell out. But it could just be that my body was already rejecting it, and it already was kind of like trying to come out, and by that time I just kind of guided it out, because it wasn't anything that was like, oh my God, that was like so bad. It was more like, oh, okay, that was not comfortable. Moving on, you know, it's nothing that continued to hurt me, anything. So I guess my advice for anyone who has an IUD, constantly check for your strings, like constantly. I would check it from time to time, but it wasn't something I would do all the time. I would definitely practice the safest sex you can if you are more into like, you know, casual sex or anything like that, or you don't have like a committed partner that is somebody that would like be there for you in a situation like this, because it's really scary and it's really lonely and it kind of feels like the world's on fire. But either way, you will get through it. Just check for your IUD strings, and if you end up getting pregnant with an IUD in place, girl, start running, start doing what you gotta do. I know it's scary, but trust me, you would rather be safe than sorry. It's a huge weight lifted off your shoulders, and it's really, really harmful for you, and it's harmful for your future baby if you continue to stress about it without taking action. Yeah, but now I'm in a really good place. I have, again, a very supportive partner. He is a rock star, and as far as like insurance goes and everything like that, that's a separate video I can do, because I was able to qualify for Medicaid because of my income situation at the time, and it's been very, very, very helpful. I never thought I would be in this position. I'm not embarrassed to say that I am, because I know that a lot of people go through this, especially now with the world kind of just being a mess. And the job situation in Texas being as bad as it is. Honestly, it sucks because that was one of my biggest fears, like healthcare and like taking care of myself and my body and seeing the doctors that I needed to see and making sure that my baby was okay. And that's the last thing a woman should worry about, I think, when going through like the scariest experience of their life. But you know, who am I to have an opinion? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any questions or want to know anything regarding my pregnancy or just need a friend, let me know in the comments or shoot me a message on social media. My username is It's Perla for everything. I hope to see you guys in my next video. All right, bye guys.